All right, Lindsay, what's in your lens today?
Let's talk about it. When you strip away the noise, polls don't vote, but people do. Sometimes the polls are loud enough that you can't help but lean in and listen. And right here, right now, they're screaming. Most recently, CNN's Harry Enton laid it out clearly. He walked through a historical bad Gallup poll for President Donald Trump, and his reaction said it all.
I mean, it's a disaster if it holds towards the midterm elections. And I should note, of course, it's not alone. I mean, just take a look here. This is Gallup. This is the longest running poll. You know, Gallup has been conducting polls since my father was a kid. And my father was born in 1927, had me in the 60s. Look at this in January. Donald Trump's net approval rating, not too bad, not too great. It was at -1 point, right within the margin of error, breaking even. But look at this now. Negative 24 points, way, way down. We're talking about a drop of over 20 points.
And he wasn't done there. He kept going straight into the historical comparisons that nobody wants attached to their presidency.
I just put up the Republican presidents. But look, the only one who's worse for me, either among Republicans or Democrats at this point, his second term, is Richard Nixon. And of course, Richard Nixon had to wave adios amigos goodbye less than a year after this poll was taken. He was at -36 points. Trump at -24 points. That beats, or is worse, I should say, beats in the wrong direction. George W. Bush, -19 points. His Republican Party, of course, suffered major losses in the 2006 midterm elections. Dwight Eisenhower, +31 points. Donald Trump has never smelt that at all.
Now, this is just the latest in a string of data points painting a picture the White House doesn't want framed. Falling approval, softening support inside the MAGA world, Democrats competitive in deep red places, and national polling averages showing Trump underwater across every major survey. In today's Tennessee special election, where Democrats are actually competitive in a district that's usually carried by Trump by a mile, is another flashing red light. If Democrats flip that seat, the ripple won't stay in Tennessee. Now the president has his own version of reality. He posted on Truth Social recently that he had the highest poll numbers of his political career. But many voters aren't feeling that high. They're feeling the high prices, though. They're feeling the impact of tariffs and aggressive ICE raids. And experts say Americans simply don't believe their living expenses match the administration's economic victory laps it's taking. Some of the most telling cracks are showing with the independent voters and Latino voters. A UC Berkeley survey found that 57% oppose deporting all immigrants here without legal status. Pew found that 71% of Latinos think the administration is doing too much on deportation. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with a country that's not just uneasy, it's fed up. And when Americans think you're doing a terrible job, that anger doesn't stay quiet. It shows up at the polls. So you love Enton and his reporting, and he bent down to the floor.
Give him hell, Harry.
He bent down to the floor and was like, this is the lowest since Nixon, who left office. So that's not really great for him. He hasn't seen the plus amount of points that we've seen other presidents like Reagan have. And the only person even close to him was Bush, who we know people thought was, people across the board didn't think that he was that great of a president when he was leaving. I remember it was kind of contentious.
Now Democrats.
And as I said, now it's like a 180. I don't know what happened.
Democrats will love Trump under President J.D. Vance's reign. I think that's a foregone conclusion at this point. Look, there's no arguing with what the poll numbers show. The poll numbers show that the first year of Trump's second term has not gone well, and we know why that is. There's frustration about the state of the economy, inflation still being high, grocery prices still being high. Donald Trump has not done enough to assuage that wrongdoing and feels, in fact, evinces some disregard for it, some pretending that it's not a problem, which is the exact same thing that sunk Biden's presidency. So I think it's been a mistake. I also think it's fairly obvious why the economy has not rebounded. It's the tariffs and other economic policies that I have been against from the start, and it's going to undo everything else. I think the good news for Trump is that he still gets high marks for his, he's trusted on crime and on immigration. And now the immigration numbers have come down too because it's becoming too punitive and too random and to just get rid of everybody. The Stephen Miller fantasy of just deporting literally every single person is not good with the American people or smart policy. So if they would rein in the tariff policy, bring down the immigration policy a little bit, and continue being tough on crime and just good governance, they'll do fine in the midterms. But their eyes not on the ball right now.
And I think when we look at what happened last month with the off-year elections and people calling it like a blue tsunami, even though some of those wins were expected, then we look to a race that President Trump is actually paying attention to and has mentioned in Tennessee,
today.
A congressional seat today, because it's kind of one of those off elections too, where Democrats weren't even competitive at all in that region, and they're actually eyeing that seat, which would change some things within Congress, which is uncomfortable,
Yeah, we'll
an
see.
early signal for that. So I guess we'll talk about this tomorrow, depending on what the outcome is. But that's one of the things where it should be an indication. If you didn't look at last month as what the American people are voting on, you can certainly look at today's election. We'll see how that goes. But the midterms are now closer than ever. Like we were talking about them earlier this year. We're like, we don't know what the strategy is. We don't know what people are doing. Marjorie Taylor Greene might be trying to protect or change what she wants to do in Congress.
She's leaving
Yeah, she's
Congress.
leaving completely. And that's why I thought maybe her intention was to win in the midterms. But she seems like she just has disassociated from the party. So there's a larger
She's
conversation.
taken a lot of flack recently for, and this is, I think this is a fair point. Why wouldn't you just serve out the rest of your term and just decline to run for
agree.
re-election, serve out the rest of your term? Some male conservative commentators criticized her on X and said that, and she responded by saying, "This is a sexist criticism." It's just saying serve out the post. It's what? It's a couple more months. It's not that much of an ask, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, and I think that the reason why she's leaving is because she felt personally attacked, or she used some language like a battered wife type of. So, well, no, she's saying that, and my point is like,
Don't
that's
make
the
it
type of
personal.
president that you voted for, right? You guys say that, not you guys, people who support President Trump say that he uses language that they align with, that he just gets straight to the point, right? He's a little more abrasive than most presidents, and that's okay with them. So if you supported all those antics and that toxic culture for all these years, you can't then be a part of it and say, woe is me, I'm a battered wife. I think that was kind of absurd. But nonetheless, I think that her exit from her, or vacating a position that was important for the Republican Party, is an indication that perhaps under President Trump, the base is in more disarray than we're actually having a conversation about. And I think when Harry Enton, who I consider fair when it comes down to polling, and when he presents ideas, he's criticized Democrats and Republicans.
He's the best.
Yeah, he points to it and he's like, this is absolutely a signal for every single president historically on this list. President Trump should listen up. It's kind of like when we're still having conversation about foreign affairs and Venezuela is on the top of our list as opposed to domestic affairs. And I bring that up considerably because people are yearning, both even liberal people that expected that maybe the economy would get better, or independents that weren't all MAGA that just expected the economy to get better, are feeling completely let down. He has to reckon for what he promised that's not being delivered.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. The people are making the criticism that he's too focused on foreign policy. Okay, but foreign policy is a major job of the president, however. Really, that's where the president historically has most leeway to do policy the way he wants, and Congress should be taking more action to manage the domestic policies of the United States, where Trump negotiates these historic peace deals, tries to bring peace to Europe, tries to bring peace to the Middle East. I'm not sure what's
Tries
going on.
to cause wars in Venezuela.
Well,
Yeah.
the idea of that war being to liberate Venezuela from an autocratic dictator who's immiserated his people and plundered from them. Now, I think Congress should declare war if that's what we're going to do. It shouldn't just be at Trump's discretion.
The anti-war president, the America First president declaring war. I just want to make sure that we're putting it all in a box from what's promised.
Congress
what's being
will
delivered.
declare war.
No, he would have to suggest it and have the
He doesn't
dialogue
have to
with Congress.
suggest it. Congress can.
Congress doesn't want to go to war. They're all confused about what's happening in Venezuela
Well, he needs
on both
to tell
sides of
them
the
all
aisle.
He's going to do it.
Well, then he would start the conversation. He wants to go to war, the anti-war president. So that's why his policies are not aligning with what he campaigned.
I mean, the opposition leader, they want to make the president just won the Nobel Peace Prize. So there is the idea is to not have war by ousting this person, is the thinking.
Start war first and then hopefully get the Nobel Peace Prize.
I don't know if it's a good idea or not. Next up, some of the biggest social media platforms are under fire after new reports suggest they tried to downplay the addictive nature of their apps. Stay with us.